Now let's get back to that story on Fena Lake. Guam Delegate Madeline Bordalio's fight to assert Guam control of Navy water systems could be close to passage in Congress. But if the U.S. House Defense Spending Bill becomes law in its present form, rights to Fena Reservoir and the Navy's water distribution and sewage systems could come at a cost too burdensome to bear. Here's more.
Fena Reservoir, Guam's biggest lake. Man-made by the Navy, for the Navy, at Naval Base Guam, not far from Apra Harbor, during the island's post-war Reconstruction era. Within 7,000 acres of land reserved for the storage of arms. Then and now, a defense settlement always needing a supply of fresh water.
If this is going to be the resource of water for the South, then we have distribution line issues that we're going to have to address.
Water for the Navy and the surrounding civilian community. That hasn't changed. But what could change is the way the Navy gets this water. If House Armed Services Chairman Ike Skelton's latest version of the National Defense Authorization Act gets through the Senate and is signed by the President, then at Congresswoman Madeline Bordalio's urging, the Navy will yield control of Fena Water and its own water distribution and sewage systems to Guam Water Works Authority, making the Navy a GWA customer, and for a price to be paid at fair market value.
First of all, we have to understand this is all based upon market price. What is that price? So, are we talking about $100 million or are we talking about $1 billion? If the real cost of purchasing this from the Navy is too high, that means a rate increase for water to all our population. The Navy system, right, their pipes and whatnot, even though there have been a few upgrades here and there, is still a 50-year-old system. So it has the same problems that are endemic in the GWA system, in which you have leaky pipes, old pipes that need to be replaced, perhaps not big enough to handle the flow of water that we really need to get to down in Agate and Santa Rita, Nimitz Hill, and I think it goes all the way to Mongmong.
Yet Chairman of the Consolidated Commission on Utilities, Simon Sanchez, says Navy water systems recently underwent hundreds of millions of dollars in upgrades and have real value. But Sanchez isn't sold on the idea of paying for these assets. And the government of Guam isn't in the habit of buying the infrastructure it traditionally inherits from the Department of Defense.
When Guam Power Authority took over the Navy power system in the late 80s and early 90s, we didn't pay anything for it. We got it for free. They just gave us the system.
At this point, Sanchez and Espaldon agree the devil is in the details. But perhaps even more critical now is the timing of this defense legislation, surfacing just before Christmas, in the last days of the 111th Congress, with scant resources to fine-tune any fine print for faraway Guam.